right. How are you guys doing today? Today is August 21st. This month is almost over and it is just blurring by. If you guys are not paying attention or you blink, you will be in September. And you know how that goes. I'll do a little something different today. I want to actually interact with my chat for a little bit before we get into the show. Usually I hop right into it and throw you guys in a whirlwind and a tumbler of news, but today I want to actually interact with you guys just briefly, if you don't mind, and see how you guys are doing today. Kind of sort of like I guess you could say a live where I interact on a normal basis, but I do want to actually talk to you guys a little bit before we actually move into the show. Sounds good, everybody? Does it sound good to you guys? I'm looking at the chat right now. I see I have people in I have people on YouTube, I have people on Twitch, and I have someone talking from Kick as well. Hello, person from Kick. All right, thank you. Everybody says it's sounding good. If you guys could do me a huge favor, if you have not already subscribed to me, please subscribe. It does not cost you a dime. And make sure you click the notification bell if you're on any of the platforms so you can be notified when I go live. I do this once a week. The goal is to, move forward and do it more than once a week. But I do like doing it once a week as for right now because it allows me to give you guys good information that is not fast information, because I'm not here for fast information. It has been a pleasure to be with you guys these last 29 weeks and giving you news that the mainstream's not talking about, stuff that actually could potentially impact you or your job or your family in some way, shape, or form, and or just give you general information that you don't know about. And that's the goal ultimately. And I'm going to find a way to kill this fly because it is just an active distraction and it wants to fly around. It has all this space to fly around in, and it wants to fly around right in front of me or right beside me. Why? Go away. Go away. But yeah, hello to everyone. I see I have a Miss Vaughn there. I have a Sarah here. I have a Heather here. I have a Lynn Rose here. I have Pat, Christopher, Nikki. And thank you to all of my new subscribers. I appreciate you guys. Like I said, I want to do something a little bit different today. And I want to move away from, where you guys all found me at, because where you found me at is a platform that is dying in America. And they like to censor, they like to shadow ban, they like to constrain creators, and while letting other creators do the very things that they tell us not to do. So I hope you guys are all doing well. Hello, Haven. How are you? Hey, Jess. Nice to see you here, Jess. I appreciate you. Thank you, Miss Lynn Avery, for looking forward to it. I do rather enjoy doing this for you guys because it's not about being right. It's not about being first. Or it's not about being first. It's about being right. And I don't want to ever present something to you that's breaking news that gets you in a serotonin dump and then nothing. And then I have to move on to something else after the fact. I'd rather give you something that we can parse out and revisit from time to time, because I love to do follow-ups as well. I hate that most of these news stories never do follow-ups or corrections. So if I ever present something that is seemingly one way initially, I will revisit it if it changes. And I've done that several times on the show already. I don't want to give you BS. I don't want to spoon feed you lies or feelings or emotions. I want to spoon feed you something that you can share to your neighbor or your friends or your family and take it to the bank and make sure you're getting true news. And, it's a little bit of conspiracy, a little bit of, Bible, and a whole lot of truth, regardless of the way you look at it, in any way, shape, or form. So that's the way I would like to go for it. Jumping right into it, though, right out of the gate, our first story is about the ballot packer. And I don't know if you guys have seen this or heard about this. The Michigan City councilman that was caught stuffing the ballot box with absentee ballots days before his primaries. Now, to give you some intricacies about this whole situation, there were he won by 1,129. 843 of his votes came from absentee ballots. If it weren't for those absentee ballots, he would have lost. Yeah. He would have lost. And I'm not going to butcher his name. I think it's Ham Tremack or Tremick. He's one of those foreigners, as we call them, and that got brought over here in the big migration under Barack Obama. And he's a city councilman who was, caught on camera doing this. So I actually have some imagery of what he was doing. And this is what he was doing. He was in the car while his driver was just packing those ballots, packing them and stuffing them as hard as he could. And then he had stacks and stacks of these ballots that he just kept putting in there. And I guess he didn't stop to think that he was on camera. And this is a new level of election drama overall, because we know where Donald Trump has really put his best foot forward. And I do have another segment towards the end where Trump is actually trying to do some things with mail-in ballots. But we see Trump complaining about this for a while, since 2020, because, he believes that he won. And in believing that he won, he says that these mail-in ballots and these absentee ballots are why he lost, because there's no way he could have lost, that he got more votes than he did the first time when he won. How did he lose? And I wholeheartedly believe that this is not just an issue in Michigan or our nation. It's also an issue within my personal state of North Carolina. And I try not to talk about too much of state issues, but mail-in ballots and absentee ballots in North Carolina are allowed to be counted. This is how we ended up with a completely red state, red governor, red congressmen, red senators, red lieutenant governor, but red Supreme Court, but we end up somehow, some way with a blue, aka Democrat governor with Roy Cooper. And we see this happen again this time around with Josh Stein in North Carolina. So it's something to be said for not having to certify certain types of ballots. But what the tape shows ultimately is, like I stated already, which was attained by Local 4 News in, Michigan, and then AP News reported on it, that he was just stuffing the ballots. So if this man stuffed the ballots with 1,129 absentee ballots and won by a slim margin, how is this not cheating? And I'm asking you guys this to get you more involved. How is this not cheating? Don't you feel like if any, person running for office can just go put ballots in and not have any checks and balance over that's a problem? This local scandal is not just local. This is happening in states left and right. And because, like I've said many times before, because people are uninformed of how civics works and how our country works and how elections work, they just glaze over when you start talking about this stuff. But this is costing you your elections. And you wonder why. Man, how did so-and-so lose? He had so much steam, or she had so much steam. How did she lose? Elections are supposed to be sacred, not staged. If you're going to win by, merits, by being the better candidate, not with packed cars and at midnight drop-offs. And this is not the only time we've seen something like this in Michigan. Even the first election or the second election in 2020 with Trump, there were images and videos shown in Michigan where they had truckloads of ballots dropped off. And just this last election in 2024, same thing. We watched this in real time. News outlets were reporting on it. So it's just like, why is there not more outrage with this? Why is there not more things being done about this? Why is this just letting it ultimately being just slid under the rug? When are we going to put our foot down and say something about this and do something about this? Or are you just okay with your elections being taken? So that is food for thought. It's not a Republican thing or a Democrat thing. It's a integrity thing. And if we don't have integrity in our election systems, we might as well just quit voting altogether. That's the way I see it anyway. So in our next story here, we have federally armed. And I know you guys have probably already heard this by now because it's the talk of the town. But DC is an unsafe place. And we see statistics blasted in our face. DC is 30% safer than what it was last year or the year before or 4 years ago. Well, that's not what the inhabitants of DC are saying. It's not safe. And what prompted Trump to do this in the first place by federalizing the National Guard was the fact that Trump appointed cabinet members and or people working on the Trump campaign or people that are working with the Trump administration closely are being jumped by 13, 14, 15-year-olds. And these people, as Judge Jeannie said, aren't able to be prosecuted because they're too young. I said last week when I first, teased this, is why aren't the parents being prosecuted? Why aren't we prosecuting the parents? Why aren't we convicting and charging and convicting the parents of these children? And then you put these kids in homes until their parents get out. Then when their parents get out of prison, they're going to have to institute some act right with their children. Because this is a parent problem, not a policing problem. Because if the parents raise their offspring better, the offspring don't go around acting out. If their parents put stipulations and rules and regulations on their offspring don't go around beating people up and pulling people out of cars. So alongside this, South Carolina, West Virginia, and Ohio have now sent in more National Guardsmen to join the already 800 that they had. So West Virginia sent 300 to 400 National Guardsmen, and they cited that this is a good thing. This is a good thing, and they did this free of their own free volition. There was no coaxing or any incentive to do so. They did this because they believe this is the way to fix our nation. And then you have Ohio sending 150 people and 200 coming from South Carolina. So now you have a total of 1,500 National Guardsmen that are just putting in work left and right. And it's almost like overnight crime is just sucked right up. And again, you hear a lot of people making this about color. It's a black thing or a white thing. And there's so many black people, that's why this is happening. It doesn't matter how many people or what color they are. Crime is crime at this point in time. And if we want to stamp it out, we have to start making examples of these people. Just because they say, and I said 30% earlier, but it was a 30-year low is what they tout out. The left is saying, oh, it's 30-year low, 30-year low, 30-year low. Right. While people are still complaining. There's a video that is floating around social media, which I don't have to play for you guys, but there's a video floating around social media of this one black guy saying he's glad that Trump is doing this. Young. At that, he says, you guys out of town are coming here saying that there's no crime, there's no crime. He said, bro, I just got out of the hospital from being shot by one of these people. Shot in the hand. He's letting us know outright. He's like, no, it's not safe here. And he said in his video that to the people out of town that aren't from DC, shut up. Stop talking about it. You don't live here. You're not seeing what we're seeing. And this is where statistics get twisted at. And you guys have to put a more of a understanding on things. That statistics can say one thing, but your eye never lies. So if statistics say we're at a 30-time all year or 30-year low of crime, but every time I walk out, there's a mugging and a shooting, someone stealing, and don't get it twisted, because it's not just the petty crimes that are problematic. We have white collar crime, where these people were rigging the system and setting up insider trading right in DC. And when Trump took office, a lot of them fled D.C. I talked about that a couple of months ago. So it's one thing to push for, government takeover, but it's another thing to actually want to put crime in its place and stop it. And to all those people that think that Trump can't do this, D.C. is leased land. D.C. is federal leased land. And as long as Washington, D.C. occupies this leased land, it is federal. And I hear all the time, oh, well, Trump's going to do this. He's going to send people to other states. He can't do it because those states are not federal. However, D.C. is. So, yes, he can use military presence of any kind. If he wanted to use the U.S. Marine Corps, the U.S. Army, the U.S. Navy here to do these things, he could, because it's federal property right now. So don't get it twisted. He's not acting unconstitutional. He's acting very constitutional. And as the head of the executive branch, that is his duty to put these things in control. That is his duty. The job of the executive branch out of Article 2 is to enforce the law. So if you live in D.C. and the law is being enforced, congratulations. Your area is going to be safer. I'm here for it. So federally armed is beautiful. It's very beautiful. Our next segment here kind of got me into a tizzy because this is problematic. This is where corporations try to usurp authority. Even though laws are set in place, they find ways and little loopholes to usurp authority. So big tech firms with layoffs hitting the headlines are now accused of skirting the law in their H1B hiring practices. So if anybody knows anything about that, H1B hiring is hiring of illegals. These are visa, not illegals, sorry. I got that on the mind. These people are legal to be here only by their work visa. And they've been skirting the system by not doing what they're supposed to. So let me tell you, this is not some harmless oversight by the federal government. It's a calculated move by these corporations to freeze out American workers, favoring visa holders. That's what they've been doing. So essentially, they've allowed themselves to post this information in one area and not allow Americans to see it so they can hire the people that they want, the foreigners. And these are all tech companies that are doing this. So a Newsweek investigation alleges that the major tech firms are co-opting mandatory newspaper job ads. And they're originally designed to give preference to U.S.-born people, applicants, but they're funneling them to have resumes that only go straight for your immigration and global mobility departments. This pisses me off. And it should piss you off too, because this stinks to high heaven. This isn't about compliance. It's about game playing. And it seems like they've taken a note from our judges who like to play lawfare. And these guys are skirting around the law by saying, oh, we're putting the information out there. We're just not letting the people that need to see it. So these big tech firms are not pro-America. They're pro-cheap labor, pro-foreign labor. But you don't hear the Democrats saying a single thing about it. Not a single thing. They're using legal smokescreen. And there's a little rule that says the employers must try to at least hire Americans first. But when the job listings sends out to immigrants only, and this doesn't even go through HR at all, so they're usurping their own internal policies, we have a problem. And this allows us to face real life consequences. It's not theoretical that job seekers are actually out here putting in applications left and right for these places, and their stuff just being funneled off to the side so they can pull in the illegals. And this is after the fact of these people being able to find them if they can find these job listings. So it's another FU to the Trump administration, essentially. that Trump is doing all of the things he's trying to do to shore up our nation in our nation's security by not allowing certain people here. And these tech firms are like, no, we want these very people that you're trying to get out here. This fly is back. This fly is back. I'm going to get you, buddy. So it's really disconcerting, because if you guys have been watching for any amount of time, we have had a lot of issues with China specifically using their nationals to come in here and get jobs and funnel information back to the CCP. And if they're not funneling, they're spying. So this is why this is problematic. But these tech firms don't care. They don't. They just want to make their money how they can. And it's, you guys got to stay ears to the ground to pay attention to this stuff, because we as Americans can actually do something about this. You know, the boycott really does work. It works well. The problem with boycotts is you guys don't boycott long enough. If you guys learn how to boycott and stay off of that company or away from that company for at least 6 months, you can cripple them. You can shut them down. But boycotting for 2 weeks and then going back to them ain't cutting it. You want Apple to change? Stop buying their products. Stop using their services for 6 months to a year. That'll change your tone. Remember when that Cuties movie came out? You know, we don't like pedophiles, right? That movie was all about pedophiles. Remember that movie came out? Everybody dropped Netflix and their stocks dropped and their income dropped. But you stayed away for 3.5 weeks and went right back to them. And they bounced right back. That's why they didn't get rid of Cuties. Because you don't hold your ground. You get bored too quickly. And it doesn't work out for us if you stay bored. It doesn't. You guys have the power and you don't even realize it. They have you convinced that you're weak when you actually hold all the cards. In our next segment, we're going to talk about social media overruled. So this is a win all the way around. And it's finally a win for families, a win for states' rights, and a slap in the face of Silicon Valley. The Supreme Court just said that Mississippi and their social media law can move forward. What is this social media law? Well, this social media law restricted minors from accessing certain parts of social media. Oh, you're hurting their First Amendment right? Oh, no. We have Texas, North Carolina, and several other states that put a gridlock on porn, where you had to actually put your information in and put your license in to prove that you're of age to view this crap. Why are we not doing this statewide, countrywide, all over for social media? This is why your kids are getting abducted. This is why your kids are being tortured online by these deviant people, these evil people. I think it was 2 weeks ago, I showed you how they just took down, with Operation Grayskull, they took down an operation where they found millions and millions of gigabytes. Hold on. Millions of gigabytes of child pornography, millions of gigabytes of them harming children and using this information to make kids go do things. So they get these kids to take these pictures or make these videos and then threaten to show it to their school. And then these kids do what they're saying because they don't want their body to be put out there like that. And oftentimes they even have these kids commit suicide. And it's all from social media. Well, some online gaming too, but that's no different than social media now. This is what the federalism looks like. Washington elites and big tech billionaires don't get to dictate how we raise our kids anymore. In Mississippi and Texas and anywhere else, because Texas had some little laws like this as well. So this is a win. The state says we're not letting TikTok, Instagram, or Meta groom our kids. I had a late story that came to me that showed that Meta and their AI system. So if any of your kids have that little Oculus Meta headset thing, that the damn Meta AI system is flirting with your kids. Yeah, flirting with your children, making suggestive statements to your children. And you You would say, oh, this is freedom of speech violation. No. Your children don't have freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is that the federal government can't tell us what we can and can't say. However, at the state level, I don't want my kids being able to access pornography. I don't want my kids being able to access the ability to go online and have a groomer get a hold of them. There should be age restrictions on social media. This is why your kids are dumb as a box of rocks. It's not just the teaching and the Department of Education. The kids spend more time doing this than they do reading books. More time doing this than talking to their parents. So, this is a win. It's a win. This is parents over profit. Do moms and dads have a right to protect their kids? Or does Zuckerberg and Silicon Valley and the boardrooms get to decide what your child sees at 2 a.m. when mommy and daddy are asleep? Bravo to Texas and Mississippi for drawing a line. Bravo to the Supreme Court for standing with states' rights. Because per the 10th Amendment, if it's not in the Constitution, it goes back to the states and respectively to the people. You shouldn't want your kids having unfettered access without parental say-so. Got little Billy in there jerking his chicken, and while his mom's bragging about him being a straight-A student and a Christ-loving child, that child ain't got no more Christ in him than you do, Debbie. Because the parents should be vigilant over their children. So yeah, this is a win all the way around. All the way around. Yes, LJ1 fly 0. There's another fly in here, but I think that one's gotten wise and flown the coop and stayed away from me. Just saw his friend catch an L. Now, this one right here, this is some comic relief here for you guys. Some comic relief for you. Judgment, no diggity. Yeah, 2 Minnesota Supreme Court judges, instead of doing their job, overwhelmed by stress, responded by forming a rock band. Yeah, a rock band. Welcome to the grassroots of our justice system, where the gravel meets the guitar. I don't know. I don't understand it. So according to NPR, the justices Ann McKeague, and Sarah Hennessy confessed to the crushing weight of their decisions and personal stress. So instead of having a safe space, coloring books, or pizza, they've created a band. And they want to rock it out. And the band is actually called The Reasonable Doubts. So instead of worrying about legislation, or not legislating, I retract that. Instead of making rulings about legislation, you're over here playing some chords. Are we joking? When the going gets tough, you cop out. When you actually are told to do your job, you cop out. It's too stressful. I need stress relief. So you go get some drums and a guitar. You're a Supreme Court justice. This is not an audition for America's Got Talent. What are we doing? It's really embarrassing. You're stressed out and you can't handle a little stress, so you go form a band. You know why you're stressed out? I'm going to tell you why you're stressed out. You're stressed out because you're trying to be activists instead of judges. You're trying to uphold feelings and emotions and not law. I think there's a clause in the Constitution that talks about maladministration, good behavior clause. This is not good behavior. This is poppycock. So what do you guys think about this? What do you think about these judges forming a band? You know, didn't Diddy have a show called Making the Band? Maybe you should try out for Making the Band with Diddy. You guys gave him a slap on the wrist anyway. Yeah. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So as I said earlier, Trump is pushing an initiative to get rid of mail-in ballot voting. He believes you should vote in person. So on August 18th, 2025, Trump took another swipe at the election system by claiming fraud and corruption. And how? He's promising an executive order to wipe out mail-in ballots and voting machines by 2026 midterms. Good luck. Good luck, because that's coming soon. We only got 4 months left, right? That's September, October, November, December. We only have 4 months left of 2025. Good luck. And then by April, the midterms start. Good luck. That's a huge undertaking. So Trump blasted mail-in ballot voting as fraudulent, despite it being safe and used by GOP-led states. So two things can be true at once. Just because the GOP states have safe and effective mail-in ballot voting doesn't mean that it's not something that can be used to cheat the system. Yeah, it doesn't mean it can't be used to cheat the system. So this is going to be a huge undertaking because there's going to be a lot of constitutionality going on here. So speaking of constitutionality, there needs to be some checks here. So the Constitution doesn't give the president the power to redesign how elections run. That power is held by the states. Elections are again, ran by states in a way that the state sees fit. This is why we had that issue with Trump being taken off of the election ballots in Colorado and other states, which Colorado found out real quick that you can't remove him. You can only decide how your elections are ran, not who's on the ballots. So that they lost that post-haste. Just the same being said, Trump can't determine how states run their elections. So it's going to be an undertaking, and I'm interested in seeing how he is able to do this. And I'm not against it, but I think it's unconstitutional in a lot of ways unless he can figure out a way to constitutionally get this done. Originally, and this is how I would say he should be able to get it done, mail-in ballots were meant for people that are not here in the country. So your absentee ballots, your mail-in ballots are meant for people that are overseas, that are not in their state at the current time of voting to be able to vote. That's what the original purpose was. So I think if Trump attacks it in that manner, based off of the original purpose, we could have some constitutional standing. But as it stands right now, yeah, good luck. Good luck. And if he attacks it that way, I'll stand behind it 150%. If he does not attack it that way, I'm going to have to put you down. I'm going to have to call you out and put you down. Because I got to stand with the Constitution before I stand with a man. Just like I stand with Christ before I stand with anything else. So it really is going to be interesting to see. And I hope that you guys do your due diligence and read the Constitution on how things work so you too can be informed. Trump is doing a lot of good, but I don't want him to make huge mistakes and upend all the good that he's done so far. And he has done some stupid stuff that have put him on the chopping block for that, but he's rectified very quickly in a lot of areas. So that I'll be interested in to see his approach to this. But if we have more situations like what's going on in Michigan and North Carolina and many other states, something does need to be done. And the best way to do that, really and truly, is the people. The people have to step up and say, hey, we demand some integrity back in our elections. It's not on Trump, it's on us. And if you think that it's a Trump thing, you're stupid. You're lazy. Hold some accountability and some responsibility for yourself to do it. And just like a couple of weeks ago where the Catholic Church was using social media to influence people to come join the Catholic Church, there's another fly, you're going to get it, you're going to get it, get out of my face. It just like the Catholic Church was using their social media influence to pull Generation Z in, the U.S. Armed Forces are doing the same thing. They're doing the same thing. So the U.S. Army use their glam influencers and fitness fanatics and slackliners to pull in Generation Z. And Generation Z is eating it up. How do I know this? Because the Army reached their quota for enlistment early. And that is both enlisted and officers. Yeah, so imagine getting a recruitment video sent to you and by your buddy, and it just shows really, really cool things that the military gets to do, and you're like, oh man, I would like to do that. And now, boom, hook, line, and sinker, because propaganda sells. You guys are, right there. I call it propaganda by parachute, and it's working. So we saw earlier this year the Navy met their goals without social media. And now the Army, for the first time in a very long time, has met their recruitment goals. Because contrary to popular belief, under the last administration, they were failing year after year on meeting their requirements for enlistment and officers. So the influencers are working. It's basically recruitment crisis by drive-by propaganda parachutes. And I'm not against it because we've seen a decline in ROTC in high schools as well as universities. So this is actually good. It actually shows more of the country's morale being boosted, because under Joe Biden, nobody wanted to join because everybody thought we were going to get in a war. And under Trump's first term, numbers were up. And under Trump's second term, numbers are up. So I'm here for this. This is a good thing. This is a good thing. I don't like how they're going about it, but it is a good thing to have our military beefed up because we need protection, both foreign and domestic. That's a little allude to Trump, federally arming the National Guard, foreign and domestic. Some of these people are domestic criminals, domestic threats, domestic terrorists, and the National Guard's doing what they're supposed to do. So hopefully this just helps us beef up our own National Guards in each state as well. Maybe they should push for that more. Maybe they should. And then we will have less issues like we do. We really would. So our last story, but not least story, is this one right here. Green light lays waste. Green light to lay waste. So Hamas finally bent the knee. And why did they bend the knee? Trump says that the remaining hostages won't come home until Hamas is confronted or destroyed. Let's roll. Trump took to his social media app, Truth Social, and gave an ultimatum on August 18, 2025. He blasted out and said, "We will only see return of the remaining hostages when Hamas is confronted or destroyed. The sooner it takes place, the better. The chances of success will be good." And he made it crystal clear there's going to be no military action on our part. But he did give the green light to Israel to just obliterate Hamas. And by Jove, it worked. Peace through strength. Peace through strength. It worked, because as soon as he gave that green light to Israel to go in there and just crush them, what did they do? Hey, please, no, please, no. We don't want that. We don't want to feel the full force of Israel's military might. That is America first. That is America's first if I've ever seen it in my life. Why is that America first? Because we don't have any boots on the ground. We're not having to send them a damn dime to do this. And if this works, which I think it will, because that green light's not going to go away, if this works how I think it will, no more humanitarian aid, which means that we could put more money towards our VA vets. Yeah. We have vets killing themselves 24, 25 a day now because they can't get the help they need, because we rather help some little fake picture Palestinian baby with humanitarian aid, where we rather send them billions of dollars of military assistance, weapons, ammunition, help, boots on the ground. We don't need our people there. These countries can take care of themselves. And I'm hoping after this little summit that took place in Alaska, Russia and Ukraine will follow suit. Trump has already had 70,000 monks break vows of silence to nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize. If this goes down with Israel and Palestine, or really Israel and Hamas, Trump, he needs a Nobel Peace Prize. He needs one. He has shut down 7 or 8 different instances, the most recent being Thailand and Cambodia. That's why the monks came out and broke their vow of silence to promote him for a Nobel Peace Prize. If this goes down with Israel and Palestine and Russia and Ukraine, give this man a Nobel Peace Prize. That is America's first. Why? Because if we don't have to foot the bill, which we always do, if we don't have to police them anymore, which we always do, that's less money. That's less people from our country dying and laying down their lives for others. That's more money saved that can go towards things that are important. Now, there is a risk that this could start a bigger war, but I don't think Palestine, aka Hamas, is going to want to knuck if you buck. Because contrary to popular belief, because you know the leftists and the liberals and the Democrats, it's a genocide. If it's a genocide, Israel would have laid waste to them a long time ago. Just like Russia could have laid waste to all of Ukraine a long time ago. Don't you recall on 4th of July, Russia started the 4th of July celebrations early by dropping 500 drone strikes on Kiev? They lit up the night sky. The biggest firework display you'll ever see. Most costly, too. So let's be realistic. If Trump can get these things done, give him the Nobel Peace Prize. He will go down in history as the greatest president of all time, the most peaceful president of all time. I love it. It's beautiful. That will also reduce our debt. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. It's a very beautiful thing. You know what else is beautiful? The Bible. I love the Bible. And our Bible verse today comes from Isaiah 41:10. Fear you not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will keep you, or I will help you. I will uphold you with the right hand of my righteousness. Guys, as always, I thank you. I appreciate you. I love you for joining me week in and week out. Make sure you hit that subscription button and that bell to be notified when I go live. It doesn't cost you a dime. There's no tapping like TikTok or other apps. You just have to show up and be here. And I will be here as well. I appreciate you. And as always, make sure you're not one missing the forest for the trees. Thank you for joining me. Have a good one.